he went even further, even faster than even someone like me thought that he was going to go. And I was quite alarmist going into this election. So I do think there's been a realization and a reminder of just how extreme this guy is. And people are realizing, like, oh, as crazy as his first term was, it was actually kept in check some by some of those people that were around him. Esper being a perfect example, where in the first administration, Trump says, I want to shoot protesters in the legs. And you've got Mark Esper to be like, we're not doing that. This time you've got Hegseth like, hey, you want to bring in the National Guard? How about we up the ante and bring in the freaking Marines to put down, protesters and crush dissent in a blue city. So the guardrails are completely off. And I think there is a little bit of a reckoning with that.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about California because I think that there's so much to unpack there. And I think that California has become such a symbol for the conservative right as something that they hate, as something that's a problem for the country. I was just in LA. Gavin was just in San Diego. We're like, what the hell is going on over here? I see more homeless people in Kansas City. Like, this city is not lost to the homeless people and crime. Like, it's actually pretty safe and clean. Like, I was totally baffled by every time I go there, like the disconnect from the reality. But now you do have this occupying force, right? And Donald Trump, it wasn't the Insurrection Act, but he relied on another niche law that allowed him to basically take over the California National Guard, where they were supposed to follow his orders instead of Gavin Newsom's. But it's crazy to watch the crackdown on peaceful protesters, right? And not just peaceful protesters, but journalists. One of the fixtures of the Republican Party during the last election cycle was that they were here to protect our First Amendment. They were the free speech warriors. They were the people that cared about the Constitution. And of course, we knew that was a total farce, that it was just branding, that it was a marketing effort to win over those comedians that don't want to be canceled and to get, favorable coverage from people in the media who don't want to be canceled and whatever. But there's this clip coming out. This is an Australian reporter on the ground in Los Angeles covering the protests. Here, I'll go ahead and throw this up for everybody to take a look. They are just point blank shooting at with non-lethal projectiles, still basically rubber bullets that could do serious damage to somebody. This is a clear reporter, no mistaking it. It's not foggy. There's been no tear gas. It's not dark outside. This is what they're doing. It's pretty unreal.
Jesus.
It's crazy. He just turns and looks at her, sees that she's filming, and shoots her with his fucking gun. Like, it's insane.
That's a rubber bullet, right?
It's a rubber bullet, yeah. But there was another journalist, not this poor woman, but another individual that was shot with a rubber bullet, and he had to get surgery in his leg because they couldn't get it out on site. It was crazy.
I think that wasn't that a journalist with Status Quo? I think.
Yeah, yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad you played that in slow-mo. I actually hadn't seen the slow-mo version, but you can see the way he turns and looks at her. I mean, you see how intentional it is, which is absolutely insane. And, I was reading all the reporting, because it's so hard when you see these images and you're not there to know, okay, what was the chain of events and how did this all go down? And I've been reading the LA Times coverage in particular, who have been on the ground with the protesters from the beginning. And as is so often the case, the escalation happens after the police begin tear gassing and they're the ones who initially provoke. And then, of course, I mean, the first provocation obviously is the Trump administration with this insane deportation policy, where Stephen Miller goes in and yells at the ICE people saying, why are you focusing on criminals? You should be going to the Home Depots, right? Rip them out of their workplaces. And so that's what they do. So that leads to, of course, a community response. That leads the police coming in and escalating, and then a further escalation, very intentional provocation with the National Guard. And I just think, as we're sorting through all of these things, it's really important to keep the big picture in mind. Donald Trump on day one signed an executive order analyzing whether he should invoke the Insurrection Act. He's been looking for an excuse and a pretext to do this from day one. It's not an accident also that this happens at a moment when, his top supporters just accused him of being a pedo and being in the Jeffrey Epstein files.
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. The Vanguard will be there, sir. there. The Vanguard will be there. Be there.